All right. So up next, what we're going to do here on the show is something I've talked about for a little while. And last week, or a week before, whatever, I talked about some new segments and we did a few new things. And I've been talking all along about doing some interviews. And tonight we're going to do that. We're going to have our first ever interview. And I'm really excited about this because the whole project is exciting to me. And it's the Illinois Rock and Roll Museum, and it's going to be right here in downtown Joliet. And I'm really excited about this, guys. We have in Illinois, as you all know, and we play on the station quite a bit, a lot of local talent. And there is a lot here, and a lot of people came from the area. We're going to talk a little about that today. And we're here today with a gentleman that I've been familiar with for more years than either of us will discuss. Well, at least I will. I knew him when he was a baby. Let's put it that way. Okay, so maybe it's that. I don't know. Anyway, Ron Romero is with us, and he is on the board of directors. He's one of the founding members, and he knows everything there is to know about this. And he's going to tell us all about it today, and I think you're going to be interested. So, Ron, thanks for being with us, and welcome to St. Francis, and welcome to our studio.
Thank you very much, and being the first interview. How exciting.
Huh?
I like it.
Yeah. Figured we started out with a bang.
There we go.
Yeah. Before we move on to, politicians and presidents and things like that, we get the big talent in here today. So let's start out. Tell us a little bit about what is this thing, this museum that you're telling us about?
So originally it was going to be an exhibit. We took it to the Joliet Museum, and we quickly learned that, one, there wouldn't be enough room in the spot that we needed to do what we wanted to do. But we did talk to them. We keep in contact with them because we know we're trying to work kind of in harmony with them and create synergy for both of us on this. But we decided that we were going to create our own entity. We talked to, of course, Joliet's own Lynn Lichtenauer, who is the president of their group over there, their board.
Right.
And she suggested us putting together our own entity, our own organization, which we did. We filed for a 501c3, so we're a nonprofit. We've taken care of all the corporate stuff that we had to do. And so basically that's what we decided to do is now we're an organization that has a mission and a statement and a purpose. And we're going to carry that into our own museum where we have space for nothing but what we're going to exhibit.
Nice.
What we're going to do in there. So
nice.
We're real excited about that.
Yeah.
Basically, I wanted to read this to you too because I always forget about doing this. But this is our mission statement. And I'll try to do this, and I'm going to try to do this by looking through the right focal of my glasses here. And the best I can. The Illinois Rock and Roll Museum on Route 66 is a nonprofit organization that exists to preserve the history of the musicians and bands with Illinois ties while educating visitors about our rich music history. Our mission will meet our goals through its operation of a world-class museum that collects, preserves, and exhibits artifacts of artists who have reached national and international recognition, and by providing enlightening educational programs. So that's basically, in a nutshell, what we're trying to do.
That's pretty awesome. I think that's a wonderful idea.
Well,
we do. We've got this rich history, and not just rock and roll, but all kinds of music in Illinois. And it was funny because I know one night on Facebook you were saying, so who is from Illinois? And people started listing it, and we're all kind of like, oh, yeah, I forgot about them.
Even me. I thought I knew a lot about Illinois music history. But doing the research and talking to other people, I'm like, oh, yeah, I didn't know that person was here or that band came from here. We really are a center of, epicenter of music. You think of Nashville for country and L.A. for rock. And really, there's a lot of great music that came from Illinois and coming from Illinois.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so that makes it exciting. So you've got a lot of artifacts that you're putting together and that kind of thing, and a lot of different musicians. Tell us about, first of all, some of the musicians from Illinois that are going to be involved in this. And
what a great question. There's, and as I said, as we were going through this, I was shocked at how many different musicians were here. Yeah. I want to say this, though. You mentioned something just now, and this is really important for people to know. Yeah. Illinois Rock and Roll Museum, by the name, means that we're talking about rock and roll.
Yep.
But we're truthfully talking about music history. We had to pick a point to start, and we have to pick a point at some point where we're going to go to. So what we ended up doing is the story is going to be like this. Way back in the Wayback days, there was a big, what they call the Great Migration. It was from the Delta area. where people fled from racist attacks and such that were going on in the lower states. So they moved to Indiana, they moved to Chicago, they moved to New York and such. But what they brought with them were a lot of musicians. What Chicago and this area did was they took a lot of that blues and that they were doing acoustically, and we electrified it.
Right.
And we did it at places like Chess Records in Chicago.
Right.
That made such a big splash that people like the Rolling Stones came to Chess Records to record because they wanted to meet their heroes that were creating this music. So that's kind of what happened here. We took what came to us, we made it different, we made it better. It hit the world, and I always like to say that the British invasion was basically the Brits invading us with our own music.
Yeah, in a lot of ways.
When you look at it, they were heavily into blues, into the blues that were here. Yeah, and that was a lot of their influences. And they came, playing Little Richard and playing a lot of the Chuck Berry and stuff like that. That was all from this area.
Yep, absolutely.
So that's kind of the beginning of the story, is where that great migration came up this way. And how we electrified it at Chess Records and Maxwell Street, how all the blues artists played there. Right. From that came a lot of the jazz from Chicago. Yeah. You don't think about it, but Louis Armstrong actually was here in Illinois for many years.
Absolutely.
Nat King Cole. This is a really good point. Here's Nat King Cole himself. Came from the lower states. Right. Moved to Chicago, to Bronzeville. And he was the first one ever to record Get Your Kicks on Route 66. Yeah. Written by Bobby Troup. And a little bit of piece of trivia on that is that Bobby Troup, if you're old enough to remember the 70s, like I am, there used to be a TV show called Emergency. Right. Do you remember that?
I do.
Right?
Yeah.
So the guys would go out and save lives from the fire station. Yeah. Well, they would call back to the hospital and they'd talk to a doctor. And the doctor was Dr. Early. Okay. Dr. Early was Bobby Troup. And Bobby Troup wrote Get Your Kicks on Route 66.
I'll be darned. Yeah. I did not know that.
So he recorded that. Nat King Cole recorded it. And since then, of course, it's been recorded numerous times from many, many people. Yeah. So... that's the jazz side. He did the jazz side of that. And there were a lot of other... Miles Davis came from Illinois. Right. What a great jazz, interpretive jazz fusion. Yeah. And then, of course, all that kind of melted in with some of the country artists. Yep. We became blues, and country became rockabilly. Rockabilly became rock. Rock became hard rock. Hard rock became some of the punk and things that we're hearing now. Yeah. So there's a great story to be told there.
Yeah, yeah. And we had the gospel from Chicago, the Staples and all of those. Absolutely. And we had the Mel Tormes up at the Black Hawk. And we just had all of this rich history from Illinois that just, it's amazing stuff. And
we want to be inclusive of all that, because there is such a great story to tell there. Yeah. And like I said, it's a little deceiving to call ourselves a rock and roll museum. Yeah. But the truth of the matter is that we want to recognize and celebrate all the music that we've had here.
Which I guess explains why the space they had over at the Joliet Museum wouldn't be enough. I'm starting to question, how do you have enough room now? Because you need a warehouse for all this. It's fascinating. But tell us some of the people that you do have involved in that kind of thing.
So, funny thing is, we started reaching out to a lot of the artists, and some artists are pack rats and they keep things. Yes. Some artists most artists aren't. They don't keep a lot of the nostalgic things. We found that a lot of the fans have a lot of artifacts, and we're finding from different sources than what we think. But we've actually talked to somebody from the band, the manager from the band Chicago. Mm-hmm. We've talked to Willie Dixon, recorded at Chess Records. We just talked to his granddaughter, who's got some articles for us. She has a connection to us for the Grammy Museum that she's working on for us. We've got our buddy Jimmy Stafford from Train. I had a wonderful conversation with him. We talked for about an hour a couple of days ago about the project that we're doing. Jimmy's we're talking about bringing him in for our next fundraiser to play acoustically. So that's going to be one thing. Yeah. The other thing is that he's donating a guitar and an outfit from Drops of Jupiter from the video. Great. So we talked about that, and he's bringing that to us as well. Yeah. There's other people. We talked to a gentleman by the name of Gary Wisner, who was partners with Gary, a gentleman by the name of Gary Loizo. I don't know if that rings a bell, but back in the day, there was a rock band in the 60s. It was one of the first kind of interracial rock bands.
Okay.
And they were in a band called American Breed. And American Breed, of course, did the song "Bend Me, Shape Me."
Yep.
Any way you want.
Any way you want.
I won't sing it.
No,
but you got it.
We won't get into that. You sing better than I do. We're not going to go there. Yeah.
But so we talked to Gary, and what ended up happening with Gary Loizo is that he was that was his song that he sang.
Okay.
And then after that band was over, he went on to open up a recording studio called Pumpkin Studios.
Okay.
And he recorded Cheap Trick, and he recorded REO, and he recorded Smashing Pumpkins, and there was all sorts of things in there that he did. Aside from doing the recorded side, he was a live sound technician for Styx, for the band Styx. Okay. So, those are the kind of people that we're talking. Gary Loizo passed away about 2 years ago. We've been in contact with his wife, Diane, and, of course, his partner, Gary, the other Gary. And they're lending things. And that's another thing to mention is that people who are giving us stuff are either donating, and it becomes property of the museum, or they do a loan where they loan us, and they they have the right to get it back. In talking to Jimmy as an example, he suggested I'd like to loan the guitar because naturally when my daughters get older and I'm gone, I'd like them to have that.
Right.
And naturally we want to do that. But he was good enough to allow us to share it with the music fans.
Which is common with museums.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
The Field Museum has a lot of stuff on loan. The Art Institute, a lot of their works are on loan and those kind of things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that's very common. You get some really good stuff that way.
We do, yeah. We talked to a couple of different people. There's a gentleman who's a drummer that played with, oh my goodness, the Steve Dahl Band.
Yeah.
If you remember him on the radio, right?
Teenage Radiation.
Teenage Radiation.
Yes,
he was a drummer with them.
Okay.
He went on to play for a while with, he was the second drummer, I think, or fill-in drummer, or touring drummer with a band called Off Broadway.
Yep.
Back in the 80s.
I remember them. Saw them at Joliet Junior.
Yeah.
They performed over there.
Yeah.
Awesome band.
Now that drummer, Greg Potter, he also is now the drummer for the Buddy Rich Orchestra.
Really?
So, and what we were talking about, Jimmy Chamberlain is another drummer. Yeah. You think about these guys as rock drummers, and they're really fantastic at what they do. But you think when you see Jimmy Chamberlain doing jazz, he'll blow your mind.
Yeah.
He's a great jazz drummer. As is Greg Potter, who's, he played with Off Broadway and Teenage Radiation. Yeah. But now he's playing in the Buddy Rich Orchestra.
Yeah.
Man, does he have the chops?
Right.
That's some big shoes to fill.
It is, absolutely. Some of the biggest,
Yeah, absolutely. But he's touring with that orchestra and kind of keeping that legacy alive.
Nice.
Doing
good.
That. So those people are giving us some drum kits. We got a drum kit from Greg, who the story on that was that he had a picture of, I believe it was a drummer from Chicago. You know what? I'm having a blank moment, but it was Sal Mineo who played him on television. Gene Krupa.
Yeah,
that's who that was.
He's
from Illinois.
Is that right?
So he's talking to Bunny Carlos from Cheap Trick, and he says, "I've got this photograph. It's autographed by him." And Bunny Carlos says, "I want that so bad. What do you want for it?" And Greg jokingly said, "I want one of your drum kits."
Yeah.
And the story is a few days later that Bunny called back and said, "I've got a drum kit for you. I want that photo."
Yeah.
So they ended up trading, and Greg is going to loan us that drum kit to put on.
Nice.
But
nice.
Funny ways, the stories behind all the things that they get.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. So what kind of plans have you got for the museum? What's it going to look like? When you walk in the door, give us an idea what it's going to look like.
Wow.
And where it's going to go. And
so we're working with a planning company to start with. We've got some plans of our own of how we want it to look like. We visited a lot of other museums to get ideas and see what we can come up with. So when you come in, we'll have a counter that you can check in. You can get your tickets. What we're looking at doing is we're looking at putting a gift shop in.
Right.
We're also looking at putting in the museum. So when you walk in, you'll have your choice to go through the museum and then be able to go to or you can just come into the gift shop. We don't want to turn anybody away from that.
Right.
And when you come in, we want to hit you with sights. We want to hit you with sounds. Right. We want you to see the photos. But we don't want it to be the things that you can go to Google and find.
Right.
We want people to actually come in and physically see things that they'll never see or hear the stories, maybe some of the stories I'm telling you now. We have a file. Let me give you an example. Kevin Cronin, who we just talked about from REO,
right,
did a recording at Pumpkin Studio with Gary Loizo. For a while, he came in and he was he was a singer, the second singer with REO, if you know the history.
Yep.
He left for a while.
Right.
And during that time, he wanted to go solo, so he went to Pumpkin Studios and recorded a song to send as a demo. And later on, they said, no, we want you to go back with the band. He went back with the band, and it worked out perfectly. As we all know, they had some great hits.
Yeah.
But the file that we have, the MP3 file that we have, is one of the songs that they do in REO, that when you hear it, you're going to go, oh, of course, I've heard that song. Yeah. There's similarities, but you can tell it's different because it's actually recorded at a different studio with different musicians, with Kevin singing lead.
Right.
I think he did some of the leads on that. But it's different.
Yeah.
It's not what you hear. But that was his demo to go solo. And as it turned out, Time for Me to Fly became a very big hit for REO Speedwagon.
It was a little bit. Yeah,
a little bit. They did pretty good.
Yeah, they did all right with that one, didn't they? And a number of others.
They had a couple 2-tree hits.
Man, that's what surprised me a couple weeks ago when we played. We did a whole hour of REO because they had to cancel and postpone the show. And it just going from one song to another, and I'm like, oh, I remember what I was doing then. I remember, and it just brings back all these memories.
Absolutely.
Because it was the 70s, and REO was that music.
That was it.
And so they were awesome.
That's music in general. That's what we want people to come in and go, oh, I remember that song. Or music takes you back to a place that you like. It'll bring back a flood of memories, mostly good. Sometimes there's some memories that aren't so good, but it brings you to another place, and that's what we want the museum to do. We want people to come in and listen to the sounds and see the sights and take them away from, a lot of the other stuff that goes on in the world these days.
And that's kind of one of the reasons we do this show, is to take us back to the 60s and 70s and other eras and just listen to that music. Because people text me, Larry, I forgot all about that song. And it's like, I know. And I just happened to find it, ran across it, or it came into my head, because you know how that goes with,
Yes, I do.
And it's like, where did that come from? But music is that thing that ties us together. It's a universal language. You can go anywhere in the world and listen to the music, and you don't need to speak the language.
Exactly.
And so to be able to bring that to downtown Joliet, I think is an awesome thing. It really is. Tell us a little bit about the why. Where did this come from? Whose idea was it? Tell us.
Well, one night about 3 a.m. I woke up. No, I'm just...
Well, one of those?
Yeah, one of those.
Let's see that in the shower.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
So, we visited, of course, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland. Sure. Rick Nielson from Cheap Trick had a short-lived museum in Rockford. It was short-lived by design.
Okay.
They intended to kind of test the water and do a little proof of concept.
Kind of a pop-up thing.
And I think it was there 6 months, maybe a year, something like that. We actually talked to his partner in that, who said that they'd like to take that museum on tour and go to different museums as a special exhibit.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, Rick Nielson, from what I'm seeing, has been one of those guys that saves everything. And the joke is, I forgot who told me this, but they said that Rick Nielson still had his lunch ticket from like second grade or something like that. And it's true. He saved everything.
Yeah.
I think Rick Nielson he's not only a great musician, I think he's a brilliant businessman. And I think that goes unsaid. They've done a lot of things like that. And I think that helped that area, Rockford, and it did good for his city. And that's kind of what we'd like to do. So that was one of the examples. One of the biggest things was Nashville.
Yeah.
My wife and I went to Nashville. And the first stop, we go into the Johnny Cash Museum, and it was $30. And then we went to the next museum, and it was $30. And the third museum, they said, why didn't you get the backstage pass, or whatever it's called? It's on a lanyard. It's got a little insert, and there's tickets inside. And for $75, you get to go to 7 museums. You get 10% off on food at this restaurant, that restaurant, and the other restaurant. We'll give you 10% off at any of the gift shops. And I thought, wow, the light bulb went on.
Yeah.
If we could do something like that in Joliet, where there is a continuity where you can buy a ticket and go to the Joliet Area Historical Museum and then come visit us, take the tour at the Rialto, to do some of those things, and then have lunch or dinner at You mentioned Tin Roof. You talked about Juliet's. We talked about the Forge has great food and entertainment.
I've not been over there yet, but they have great entertainment because I hear it occasionally when they open the doors.
Their food is awesome.
But that's what everybody says. The food is really good. I got to get over there. Yeah.
And you know what? They actually helped us with our first fundraiser. We did a fundraiser back there in October.
That's right. I remember that.
And they really took care of us very well.
Yeah.
And it was a very successful. We had a very good turnout for that.
Yeah.
So, but it was working. It's worked wonderful. That's kind of what we want. And new things. We got Migraine in Joliet.
Right.
We've got the ball field that not only is going to have ball games there, but now they're talking about doing concerts outside.
Yeah.
The green space across from the Rialto that they're going to be, it's a parking lot now, but they're going to be bringing in dirt and grass and benches and there's plans for an outdoor stage and,
wonderful.
A place to do like photo ops as people travel. Yeah. When I'm downtown Joliet, I notice that every time I'm down by the Rialto, there's people traveling down Old Route 66, which, of course, is Chicago Street.
Yes, and in the summer, they're in vintage cars and clothes. And
they come out and they take pictures at the Rialto. And we need to give them that stuff to come through and keep them there for a little bit. Let them come visit us. And then I got to thinking, I wonder how many hotels are here. And then we started doing a research on that, and there's 12 and maybe another 10 coming up soon in the nearby area.
Yeah.
And hey, what's to say we couldn't get somebody to come for a weekend and do a show at the Rialto, do a show at the Forge, come to the museums, do some of the other events and things that are happening downtown. And as you've seen with some of the city partnership things that they do and the chamber things that they're doing downtown, the response of the Star Wars.
Yes.
Or you live in the area.
Goodness.
How many people? Like 10,000 people come down for that.
Yeah. I see that. It amazes me. I'm like, 10,000 people for this?
For one event.
One event.
So, we just want to be part of that synergy. We want to help with the city, the renovations and the revival.
Yeah.
And we want to participate in that. Yeah. And we think that's our way of doing it is to say, come downtown and visit all these things. Stay for the weekend. There's hotels.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's plenty of hotels.
Yeah.
Got plenty of space.
Things to do.
Yeah. And you mentioned the Rialto, and I'm a volunteer over there, so I have a special place in my heart for the Rialto Theatre. I love it. I've always loved it. I think it's a beautiful place. And I volunteer just so I can hang out there for free.
Yeah, right. Who doesn't want to hang out there?
Right? And so it's cool. But I'm kind of like my dad. Mom said dad never met a stranger. And so I talk to everybody that comes in that wants to talk. And so I talk to people. So, where are you from? And people come from all over, not just Illinois, but all over the Midwest. And we've had people, that we were driving down Route 80. And somehow they saw or heard that this artist, the favorite of theirs, is going to be there that night.
Yeah.
And they're from Pennsylvania or something, and they get off the interstate and they go to the show, and then they go over to the casino and they go down to one of the restaurants, and it's like
things to do.
Awesome.
Yeah, the casino is exactly another thing.
So let's just give them some more.
So the last thing that we went to, we were at a concert there, and there was a couple sitting in front of us. First thing that I noticed them talking about was how architecturally beautiful that theater is.
Goodness.
And if you know the stories, I'm going to recommend this. If you haven't taken the tour of the Rialto,
you
got to get down there and take it.
And
there's stories in those walls that
Yep.
need to be told.
Yeah.
There's some incredible stories. But the couple that was sitting next to us, it was their first time there for the concert.
Yes.
They heard about it. They love the artist. They came there. And, of course, they're in awe of this beautiful architecture. And they said, there's room in the seats. There's room in the building.
Yeah.
Why would we go anywhere else? And it was good to hear that. And they were not from this area.
Right.
They traveled a long way.
And the acoustics are incredible.
Outstanding.
Last time Tony Bennett was in, I got to work that show, and I was just, because I love Tony Bennett. I mean, who doesn't love Tony Bennett, right?
Yeah, right.
And it was a sold-out show. And so I got to see a lot of the show. And he comes out to do his encore, and he starts singing one of his big hits, and he just stops for a second. He takes the microphone, he throws it on the floor, down on the stage, and he says to the audience, he goes, "This is why I love coming here. I don't need a mic." And he did the rest of the encores just
Isn't that awesome?
without a mic, and everybody could hear him.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's an amazing, amazing theater for 1928.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's been around a
the
while.
history of how that started, and to think
I
of, the lack of technology that we have to build buildings, what they did.
Yes.
It is more astounding then because of what that building looks like and what they have the capability of doing now.
So are you folks partnering at all with the Rialto?
Absolutely. That's funny you should mention. I just met with the volunteers there. Part of our gift shop, what we want to do is we want to sell merchandise.
Yeah.
We want to very much promote Joliet. We want to promote the Illinois Rock and Roll Museum. And one of our benefactors to what we're doing is the Rialto.
Yeah.
And we want to so we talked to them about bringing merchandise in and selling at our gift shop. And we think that's going to create another revenue stream for them.
Yeah.
Where they only get the chance to bring that out on concert nights.
Yeah.
So if we're open 6 or 7 days a week, then we have the opportunity to sell their merchandise every day of the week. And we hope that as this tourism builds, we'll get more and more people coming in to do that.
Absolutely.
We love working with the Rialto. I am going to give a shout out to their whole staff.
Yep.
Val Divine.
Val's awesome, isn't she?
She is a go-getter.
Yeah.
I just absolutely love that lady. She does a great job down there.
Yeah.
The new board of directors with Bob Filato as chairman and everybody else on there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things. And you and I briefly talked about this. We know that downtown Joliet was thriving at one time.
Yes. Oh,
and
absolutely.
then somewhere we lost that.
Yep.
But now it's coming back, and there's a lot of people who are working to make this come back.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of the people from the Rialto, the city. I think there's a lot of good people on the city board that are trying to make this come to fruition as well.
Yeah.
The chamber, there's the city partners. There's so many people involved in this.
Absolutely.
And I think together, that synergy we're going to create together with everything that we're going to do. We need to have that Joliet pride to bring people here and know that there's the money, the tourism money is going to bring a lot of tax dollars to the area.
Yes.
I know there's a lot of hubbub about, spending money and where this is coming from, but actually creating that tax dollar coming in from outside of the area is going to be helpful to this area.
Yeah.
And I don't know that everybody realizes that, but I think that the people who are trying to make this come to fruition now actually do get the idea of what everybody's doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and you could see it. They're talking about remodeling the downtown completely.
Yes, absolutely.
The streets are going to get widened. They're putting in the green space across from the Rialto.
Yep.
Look at what they've done with the old Turk building, where First Midwest Bank is.
Right.
Jim Rolfe's building is over there, and the JJC building across the street downtown.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Juliet's, and if you haven't been in the Forge, that's another beautiful.
Yeah.
I think that holds like 900 people in there, and people don't know that's there.
Yeah, yeah. No, they don't.
They don't.
Yeah, yeah.
When we did our event there, we had people come in that had not been in there since it was at, and they were just, you think you're going into a storefront or something, but when you get inside, it's open 2 stories and holds 900 people, and there's this big, beautiful stage, outstanding sound system.
Yeah,
and the people. Frank and everybody else there that's running that place are doing a great job.
Good.
They're doing really good. And they're working, it's people like that we want to be involved with because they helped us to do our first fundraiser.
Yeah.
And so we're kind of looking out for each other down there.
Yeah. That's what I liked. The downtown seems to be, most of the merchants really want to pull together because they know it's in their best interest. And a partnership with the Rialto's perfect. I mean, their music, their performance, that kind of thing. And so I'm really glad to see all this. And like I said, I live downtown, so I'm down there a lot. And I see the stuff that does go on. The Star Wars Day with 10,000 people. I worked the Rialto that day, and my goodness.
Yeah.
And to see the little kids come in the Rialto, because we do a lot of school things. And the kids come in, and they just, in groups, and they walk in with their eyes up at the ceiling and their mouths open, and they can't, and people do their downtown, taking pictures of the Rialto, and there's so much architecture downtown. The building I live in, I guess it was once called the Auditorium building or something, and so beautiful. It was a church at one time, and that's why there's all the stained glass windows and the limestone architecture, and it's a beautiful downtown, and with the plans the city's got, I think it's really going to take off. And you're right, we have to build that pride back into Joliet for the downtown. It's not just in the different sides of town. The downtown is really awesome,
and I think it's coming. And I think it's coming with a good force behind it.
Yeah.
Let's not go into politics because you know where that goes.
I know.
But I'll say this: that in conversations that I've had with the mayor here, he's very about getting that up and running and bringing that back down there.
Good.
They're very assertive about making sure that we're renovating and kind of reviving that area.
Yeah.
I think he realizes the potential of tax dollars and what it could mean to the city to do those improvements. So there, you'll get a mix from people. Some people are for it, some people aren't. But somehow we have to find that way to find that pride in Joliet and be proud of what's going on here. There are a lot of things here in Joliet people should be proud of. We talk about music alone. There's several musicians that came from Joliet area that did very well.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
And that'll be in the museum as well. We want to give a nod to that.
Yeah.
And the other thing I was going to say, too, about local music, somewhere in the museum, in the design, back in the day, there were some great clubs, the Edifice, the Wild Goose, 18th Amendment, things like that.
Yep.
And there were a lot of big bands that came through.
Yes.
I know Cheap Trick and REO came through a lot of the places before they were who they were.
Right.
And a lot of the local bands back then had played opening up for those acts.
Yeah.
And, we want to give a special nod to those guys, too.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Because they made quite a scene.
Yeah.
I mean, but if you go all the way back into the 20s, there was a lot of jazz in Joliet and blues. And I met a guy years ago. He was in his late 70s, and he was homeless, and he was living in Aurora. And he sat down at this piano and just started playing this amazing music.
Wow.
And he goes, I used to work on the railroad in Joliet because I was also a jazz player, and we played downtown. And I'm like, man, so there's all these things, and we don't know that, and it'd be good to have that availability to us. Yeah.
Well, you talked about the Rialto being built in 23?
28, I think. 28.
So it was many years ago, but the people who have graced that stage,
oh my goodness,
the people who have come to Joliet who have performed on that stage, seems to be an endless list that is incredible.
You get on the green room, there's signatures everywhere from everybody.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And it goes all the way down the stairs, all the way down into the lunchroom underneath. There are so many artists there that it's incredible.
Yeah.
We're so blessed to have that.
Oh, yeah. And so I think this is a great thing for us. Before we wrap up, though, I know you've got a membership drive going. How can we be a part of this?
Oh, so thank you for asking. Very good question. So we're doing a membership drive right now, and what happens is there's a couple of different types of memberships that you can get into. We have individual memberships. We also have family. There's discounts for seniors or senior couples.
I saw that. I like that thing.
Yeah, yes.
I fit that one now. Yeah.
We've got a lot of people already from senior group.
Because these are all affordable. These are not like you got to be $1,000 or anything. These
not
are
at all.
Very, very reasonable.
Not at all. You know what? Here, I'll just tell you. Sure. Individuals for an annual is $35. For a family, it's $45. Right. For a senior, it's only $20 a year.
Yeah.
Couple senior, $25. Student teachers, $20. And we're here to school, so I know there's a lot of teachers and students here.
Yes, there are.
Yeah,
Lots of
just
them.
mentioning that.
Yep.
Individual lifetime is $350.
Yeah.
Family lifetime is $450. Senior lifetime is $200. So the benefits to that is one, when you get your card, annual renewable obviously is going to be in your anniversary date of when you got it.
Mm-hmm.
But this first time, we're asking people to do this now. They become charter members. They're really the force that's going to help us do this. Their membership will not renew until 1 year after the museum opens.
Okay.
So if they start now and we open up in the middle of this year, then their membership won't renew until a year after that.
So there's a perk.
But in the meantime, they get a lot of things now. So we've got, when the museum does open, they'll get free days to come in with a membership, of course. They'll get 10% discount on online and discount at the gift shop. They'll get a quarterly newsletter that's designed just for the members, for that only. They'll get members-only events that we're going to be doing.
Cool.
We'll get pre-sale notices for some of the special events like we did for the fundraising event that we had. And then also they'll either get free entrance or discounted entrance, depending on what the event is, to some of the concerts and events that we're going to be holding from now until then and after we're up and running as well. Right. And the money that's being donated to this project through membership or donations, sponsorship, is going to basically make this come to fruition. It goes to the capital campaign. Yeah. It goes to, we're going to be doing some renovation to the building that we're looking at. Sure. Some remodeling. So all that is going back to this project. There's nobody making money. It's a nonprofit organization. So it's not lining the pockets of any individual or any group of individuals. Right. This is something that we would love Joliet people to kind of take ownership of and say, we have the Illinois Rock and Roll Museum for the state of Illinois right here in Joliet.
Right in Joliet.
Yeah, so that's what we're looking for. We hope that everybody will join us. And if they have questions, they can go to the website. It's Road to Rock. That's TO2, roadtorock.org. Or they can call us at 815-927-1540.
Okay.
And I'd be happy to answer any questions for anybody. And
nice. Nice. All right. Before we get out of here, anything else you want to tell us about this awesome thing?
I just got to tell you, I'm sleepless because I'm so excited about this.
I'll bet.
We have a great board. I really should mention a few names, just real basic, real quickly here, of course. So I chair the organization, and then we have Michael Stubler, who's the treasurer. Michael works for the New Lenox library system over there, doing a lot of the finances. My wife Patty is part of this. She's part of another nonprofit organization where she works at for a training site for OSHA. She's on board. Tony Contos used to run the Joliet Area Historical Museum, so he's on board. Debbie Erickson is part of. She's the chairman of the Illinois Route 66 Red Carpet Corridor Tourism. Alita Finney comes from Northern Insurance. She's helping us out as our community liaison. Richard Fredrickson used to be part of the City Center Partnership. I know he's still involved with a lot of the things that are happening downtown.
Yeah.
Skip Gripperis, who I mentioned earlier, played with a couple of bands. One, most notably, he was a guitar player with Olivia Newton-John for a while. He played with New Colony 6 as well. Carl Maurer is new, just joined us. He was one of the founding board members of the Blues Museum in Memphis, Tennessee. Okay. So he's on our board. J.D. Ross, that I know a lot of people here locally know from JJC. And a gentleman that's been involved with his community. He asked to be a part of this because we just talked about this last night. He cares about Joliet and downtown Joliet, and there is so much, a lot of passion for it. Eric Schelling comes to us from the People's First Bank, helping out with finances, and John Simpson is a board member who is a partner with Burlick Construction and an avid music fan. Yeah. And we're actually going to be expanding our board, so maybe that's one thing that we could put out here on your show too. We're looking for people who are active in the community that could help us open doors, that could be somebody that could help us do some of the tasks that we need to do and be good leadership for this project. Excellent.
Well, you've got a group of people there who can get things done.
Yeah.
It's a board that have done these kind of things. They know what to do and they know how to make it happen. So that's good. But to the listeners, there you go. Be a member. But if you want to be more involved and you're somebody who you think you can work on that board, man, it's a heck of a good group.
Give us a call, please.
Give Ron a call, man. I know he'd love to talk to you, and he'd certainly work with you on that. Awesome. Well, Ron, I want to wrap it up, and I really want to thank you for coming up. I really do. I appreciate that, taking your time and coming up and telling us about this. This is exciting. I think it's good for our first interview show that we're doing here that, we had something that's interesting for Joliet and for the community and that kind of thing. And
thank you. Very honored to be first. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So we'll wrap it up. Is there anything you want me to play for you?
Anything from REO or Cheap Trick would really be great. Anything.
I can do that.
Can't go wrong.
That's easy. Maybe we'll do both.
There you go.
Because you know what? It's my show, Ron. I can do anything I want. So, all right, my friend, I really appreciate it. Thanks for coming up.
Thank you for having me.
Good luck on this. And like I said, next payday, I will be a member.
Awesome.
Just, paydays are. But, folks, get involved with this. Keep an eye on it. Go to their website. What is it again, Ron?
roadtorock.org.
And your number is?
It's 815-927-1540.
There you go, guys. Let's get involved in this. Let's make this happen. It's good for the city. It's good for Joliet. It's good for music. It's an awesome thing. All right. Thanks again, Ron. And here's some tunes for you.